Hebrews 11:8 says, "By faith Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, he obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going." Abraham started the journey before he knew where he was going to end up. That's actually a really good description of what it means to live a life of faith. Very seldom does God give you all the answers to all the questions that you have at the beginning of the journey. He will provide those answers and everything that you will need along the way. God taught me that lesson in 2012. It was in June of that year on a Thursday evening that 19 leaders of our church were sitting in a room trying to decide if God was wanting our church to relocate. And so on that night, we had a whole lot of questions. We had a lot more questions than we had answers. Questions like, where would we go? How long would it take? How much would it cost? Would our people even go with us? If so, how many of them would do so? We had all these questions. But the truth is that we sensed that God was leading us to do it. So we didn't wait for all the answers. We started the journey by faith. Now in retrospect, I look back and I think, if God had answered all those questions that night, if God had said to us on that night, it's going to take you 6 years before you get into your new building. It will cost you $10.5 million. You're going to relocate 25 miles north of here. Over half of your congregation will probably not end up going with you. And in fact, almost half of the men in the room tonight will not be with you when you move in. If we had known those answers that night, would we have had the faith to start the journey? And I think the answer is probably not. The truth is that you never have enough faith at the beginning of the journey that you're going to need at the end of the journey. God develops that faith along the way. And so it may be that God is leading some of you to do something, but you've been waiting for God to answer all your questions. That's not likely going to happen. If you have enough information to start the journey, He wants you to begin by faith, even before you know all the answers. And if you do that, He will provide everything you need along the way and develop the faith you will need to bring about His great plan for your life.